Indy. One word says it all. And for the second time, this legendary venue hosts one of motorsport's most prestigious events, the SCCA's National Championship Runoffs. Together, it's a can't-miss, bucket list pairing, and almost 900 entries have arrived, all pursuing two things: a chance to kiss the bricks and a gold medal that says champion. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Haggerty Race Day here at the racing capital of the world, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Our broadcast today presented by the fine folks at Mazda. I'm Greg Creamer, joined by Tom O'Gorman, Hayward Wagner down in the pre-grid and on pit lane. And we are ready for the run to the gold in a real ground pounder type of class here. It's called T1. Great to have you with us. It is hazy. It isn't particularly cold here, but the humidity's up to the roof. It's cloudy, and as we look at it, it's not a matter of if, it's when we're going to get rain today. But so far, it's been holding off. And Tomo, there's the field of T1 cars getting ready to set sail. Not a huge number of cars compared to some of the other classes, but boy, is it deep.
And it's actually a little bit more variety than we've seen in years past. The grid is closer on lap times than in years past as well. So this one's shaping up to be a good one. But you're right. Any moisture that's on the track right now is left over from overnight. This one's looking to be pretty dry and quick.
And we're looking forward to the race. And one of the reasons is the challenges of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Grand Prix course, the infield road course. And with that, let's take a look at our Mazda track map. The track is 2.6 miles in length, 14 turns, and it's a great mix of high speed and technical, isn't it?
It is, and it's a deceptively long front straightaway that starts off the lap. There is Sector 1, almost half the lap, but we're eclipsing 150 miles an hour in these Touring 1 cars before we hit the brakes for Turn 1. Really a pinch point at the start of the race, but a great passing opportunity as well before getting into Turn 2, 3. That is kind of an increasing S's into Turn 4, then barely flat out through Turn 5 in these T1 cars. The carousel at Turn 6, really, really tricky, nice and wide, lots of line options, another good passing opportunity before coming out onto the Holman straight through Turn 6A, another very wide straight before we get into Sector 2. Kind of the S's here, a fast 7, 8, 9, 10. Each one gets a little bit tighter than the last before coming out onto the banking of the speedway. Indy Turn 2, becoming the wrong way into Sector 3. The final great quote-unquote passing zone, braking zone into Turn 12 before the S's at 12, 13, and powering out onto Turn 14, which I bet is not quite flat in these cars.
Yeah, they're going to be dancing a bit for sure. And that Turn 12 is a really tricky braking zone. You can overtake, but you got to get it right. Mazda's investment into club racing goes beyond the track map presentation. If you race a Mazda, no matter the model or year, they support you through the Mazda Team Support Program. So sign up at MazdaMotorsports.com. There is a look at the field that is getting ready to set sail, and Hayward Wagner is down with them. Good morning.
Guys, it doesn't get a lot closer than that. We had a 100% chance of rain about 10 minutes ago. We're down to 80. It continues to fall as the storm moves to the south of us. Right now, everybody's on dry setup. Everybody's going with hope and strategy. We'll see how the weather plays out. The other thing that we're going to see play out is how these two Mustangs perform. This is Andrew Aquilante in the 302 Mustang. This is a much softer car. If you've watched Andrew race over the years, he's known for banging it off the curves, driving on the sidewalls. Really soft, a lot of body roll. In low grip, that's sometimes preferable because it maintains a better contact path. Second car in the grid is the 350 Mustang. This is a newer, stiffer chassis. This car is going to stay a lot flatter. If it stays dry as the tires come up, we may see that car have a little bit more composure as we go through the race. Mark Bowden's third on the grid in the BMW. He says this race is going to come down to who has tires at the end. This car might be a little bit easier on the tires as Andrew tries to slide it around. Take a look at one more thing. Look at the angle of attack on the wing on the 107 car here. See the angle, nose down a little bit on the front of it. If you look at Andrew Aquilante's wing right here, this thing is trimmed out about as flat as you can get it. This is a dining room table compared to some of the other wings on the grid. So Andrew is running as low drag as he can possibly get. It's going to help him on the straights. He's going to have to drive the wheels off of it to stay ahead of everybody in the corners.
Great information, Hayward. Thank you so much. And yeah, more angle you run, the draggier, the slower the car is on the straights. Got that big straight here, but that means you got to be up on the wheel. Andrew's certainly capable of it. I mean, he's got 5 golds in this category alone, and a huge number of them in total here. This was his 18th pole in runoffs competition, so he's awfully stout. But boy, there are some good drivers in this field. And these are heavy. They're powerful and they're heavy. So tire management, brake management, I would think, too, going to be key here.
Yeah, 32 to 3,600 pounds are these cars, and the reason for that wing angle is because that car coming at us, Mark Bowden's car, tends to be extremely fast in a straight line, the E92 BMW. That Camaro that just rolls through is a newcomer to the class, Danny Bender, who has a little bit of professional racing experience, very quick, more on the kind of Spec Miata and Mazda side, but coming in here with a Camaro that maybe isn't the quickest car. He's qualified 5th and is within about a second and a half of Andrew Aquilante's time, but you can guarantee he knows how to race it. Could be interesting there coming from 5th too.
Absolutely, and you saw that beautiful orange Mustang roll off. That's the 88 of Pratt Cole out of Salt Lake City, Utah. Runs in the Reno region, the Western Metals Transport Mustang. He is our Hawk Breakthrough Performer, which is courtesy of our folks at Hawk Performance, the official brake partner of SCCA. Most positions improved from Tuesday to Wednesday in those qualifying sessions. How close is this class? We've seen some where it's 12, 15 place improvements, 3. That's how tight this class is. So let's take you through the starting lineup. As I said, on his 18th pole and going for his 6th gold in this category, 10 golds all told, it is the number 33 of Andrew Aquilante out of Chester Springs, Pennsylvania. Runs in the Philadelphia region in the Phoenix Performance, Hoosier, and Hawk Mustang. Starting outside, the 107 of Brian Kleeman in the Cockeysville, Maryland, Washington, D.C. region-based Ford Mustang. Starting third, the 46 of Mark Bowden. He is also our Super Sweep eligible driver. If he wins this, he wins that incredibly difficult and prestigious award. He's out of Buffalo Grove, Illinois, runs for Chicago region, Fall Line Motorsports in the BMW. Starting in the 4th spot, the 74 of Ian Barberi out of Pleasanton, California, runs in the San Francisco region, his 3rd runoffs. In the TC Design, the 95 BMW E36. Starting in the 5th spot, gentleman that Tomo was just talking about, the number 11 of Danny Bender out of Northbrook, Illinois, Chicago region, in the Bravo Trailers. It's a Chevrolet Camaro Z28. He's been in a lot of runoffs over the years, generally in Miata and lower class stuff, so this is going to be good, but he is a shoe. Starting in the 6th spot, the number 18 of Edgar Lau out of Sisters, Oregon, runs in the San Francisco region. He's a rookie in runoffs competition. In the Meta VC Capital Ford Mustang, starting 7th, the 84 of Ross Murray. This is his 14th start. He's out of Marina del Rey, California, and he runs the New Zealand Seafoods Hoosier Ford Mustang. Starting in the 8th spot is the number 144 of Tim Kesman out of Franksville, Wisconsin. Already won a gold this weekend in racing already out of Milwaukee region. Fall Line Motorsports, Lemons of Love on his 2012 BMW in terms of sponsors. Starting 9th is that number 88 of Pratt Cole. Starting 10th, the 23 of Hugh Stewart out of Milford, Connecticut. Runs in the Northeastern region in the High Speed Motorsports Hoosier BMW. Starting 11th, the 41 of Michael Pettiford out of Louisville, Colorado, in Colorado region. How about this? This is a milestone moment. His 50th start in runoffs competition. He always runs a couple of classes, but 50 starts, that's remarkable. The Go For It Racing School's Hoosier Hawk Corvette. Starting 12th, the number 86 of Joseph Gaudet out of Manassas, Virginia, in the Washington, D.C. region, in the Over 1G Racing Phoenix and Hawk Chevy Corvette. Starting the 13th spot, the number 26 of Chris Edens. He runs out of the Arkansas region in the 2.6 Motorsport Sherwood Tire Mazda Miata. Starting in the 14th spot, the 173 of Murat Contensi out of Stafford in the New England region in the KGF Motorsports entry. And it's going to be Bill Botten and Christina Lamb, 39 and 12 in row 8. Row 9, it's the 124 of Chris Allegrio and the 42 of Paolo Salvatore. Starting in the 10th row, the 32 of Joe Aquilani, 79 of Clark Nunes. In the 11th row, the 09 of Chris Utzon and the 22 of Dan Van Norwick. And here we go, Aquilani bringing them up to the green to begin the chase for gold in the T1 category, Touring 1. You're at the 58th running of the SCCA National Championship Runoffs. All eyes up on that flag station looking for this 19-lap or 40-minute race to begin in earnest. We're green! And Aquilani timed it beautifully, got a nice little jump. Kleeman's going to try and side draft a little bit, but Bowden got a good run as well. We may have him 3 abreast down into turn 1. Bowden, that lighter car, he might be able to do the out-brake maneuver down into turn 1. Aquilani sweeps the outside. Bowden realizes that's not going to work, tucks it behind Kleeman, loses a spot, slips into 3rd, and Bender up into 4th.
And look who's in 5th. That's Tim Kesman from 8th. Both of those Fall Line BMWs with a heck of a charge at the start. And Kesman there in the white and red, headlights glowing red, looking evil on a charge.
And Ross Murray, a good start as well, and the number 84 right on Kesman's rear bumper. Right there, those two really good starts as we start this 19-lap run. And they should easily be able to get this done in that 40-minute time limit if it stays dry. And there we go, first time through 6A, and a big pop move there by Ross Murray. I'm not sure it was so much a pop move as maybe he just overran the corner a little bit.
Yeah, it looks like he got a little bit of a push, and right behind him is Ian Barbarian, objectively the raddest livery on the track, if you notice that E36, but he has the smallest displacement. It's only a 6-cylinder, and he got swamped at the start. Hayward mentioned that this is a tire management race. That car's going to be pretty good on tires.
Yeah, to watch for him, Barberi, near the end of the race here as we watching the field come through. There's Pratt Cole in the number 88, and right behind him, we've got Hugh Stewart, Mike Pettiford in that group as well. There's Mike in the yellow Corvette. And nice move there. Hard racing in the early going here. So number 144 of Kesman trying to fend off the 84 of Ross Murray. They're still side by side.
Watch the straight line speed come alive in that E92 BMW. It's not the torquiest car, but it sure gets up on the RPMs and gets really, really quick. But Murray looking strong too, and in the background, Barberi with that low horsepower car having problems still down that big long front straightaway.
Yeah, Pratt Cole and that Mustang coming by him as well. And the one thing about those BMWs, you look at just the general's area on the front of the car versus the Mustangs and the like, those Bimmers are pretty slippery. That doesn't hurt him in a straight either.
Yeah, sure does not. Andrew Aquilante across the line, 1.1 seconds lead. He's starting to try to drive away and maybe get ahead of that tire management game, but this race for fifth is awesome. Murray gets passed again by Kleeman through turns 1 and 2.
Look at this battle here. One gets in front, the other one just comes right back again. They are working hard. This is right now for the 5th spot. Kesman and around Murray and picks that up again. But the guy moving quickly now is Pratt Cole, as he is coming up on the back. There he is in that orange machine. You talked about him getting by Ian Barberi in that 6-seater car. Ooh, we got a spin there, the 09. That has gotten away from him here, and that's unfortunate.
There was a little bit of damage on the rear quarter of that car, so he might have gotten help.
Yeah.
Shouldn't speculate too much, but now look at this. Murray's through on Kesman, and Kesman actually came from 8th on the grid to be running there in 5th place. I don't think he's got the pace. He was becoming a little bit of a roadblock there. He's got basically 10 cars stacked behind him. Murray breaks through, though.
Yeah, look at Pratt Cole now taking a look. That was Chris Utzon, by the way, who had that little spin down there in the 09. But Kesman able to hang on. But look at this big lunge. I think that is Edgar Lau trying to make the move on Barberi. Yeah, that little 6-cylinder, one of the prettiest sounding cars out there as well, I've always thought. But really losing out to these big horsepower cars early. But patience might be his game.
The other problem with that low horsepower is just the raceability. When you're making speed in the corners and not on the straights, but you have cars in front of you, you can't do anything with that speed. As he gets more freight trains, Edgar Lau is going to clear him. Mike Pettiford's going to try it as well, but that BMW should be pretty good on the brakes. Deep, look at it wiggling. Oh, and contact in the background, 2 cars side by side.
Yeah, I think that might be, that's Murat Contensi and Bill Botten having at it back there in really close quarters racing. Pettiford now working his way up there. The 2 protagonists that we were just watching, just behind Pettiford in the yellow Vet. That's the Camaro of Botten, I think, and the Murat Kensi in that BMW that we're trading a little paint. And, ooh, here we go, Bowden. He's turned the wick up a bit.
Yeah, just turns the fast lap of the race and closes the gap on the lead by about a half a second. So a 46 fall line BMW, as you see the Mustang carrying the inside front tire through turn 7. But he's getting reeled in just a little bit here.
Andrew just loves a soft setup, getting a lot of weight transfer. And if this was wet, he'd be absolutely gone right now. But in the dry, that Bimmer just transitions incredibly well. And I think the plan, I would think right now for Bowden, is stay really close, continue to pressure Aquilante to try and run those tires off a little bit.
Yeah, and if he can stay close through this section, this is sector 3 through turns 12 and 13. That BMW does have a couple mile an hour on the Mustang down the front straightaway. You see how much they open up that turn 14, because it's not nearly as open a corner as you would think. And then coming up onto this front straightaway, you get the wheel straight and pedal down. Danny Bender's also keeping the pressure on Brian Kleeman, so we have pretty good battles for first and third at this point.
Yeah, we do. And I'll tell you, the thing with 14 in the big horsepower class is the exit at 13, isn't it? You see a lot of the lower horsepower cars that just track all the way out on the far edge of the track. Big horsepower cars, you need to be about center track, don't you? So you can swing a little bit and get squared up for 14.
Exactly. It essentially adds an extra corner where you have to get the car set up for that that turn 14 sweep. If you look at the aerial map, it doesn't look like that big of a deal, but these cars with 500 some horsepower, some of them, maybe closer to 400 in other cases, but it's not easy to keep the pedal down. Yeah, it's sufficient, as they say.
It's a lot, yeah. And if you're really going to carry speed, you know, through 14, you got to run right out by. There's a little triangle of grass that ends, and you got to almost nip that and then go right to the wall on that front straight. It's daunting, but the really good guys at the front of this pack, they're going to be doing that because that's the fast way around. This guy, yeah, Becker doing a really nice job. The one thing for Danny that's going to be interesting is we talked about a lot of experience. He raced lots in the touring car divisions in IMSA and World Challenge competition, so he's got that level of experience. But it's going to be interesting to see just how he is at tire management in a big, high horsepower, heavy car. Enjoy the sound of those big Thunder and V8s out there, and then the BMWs and the other machines out there as well. But there's Aquilante.
There's that setup you were talking about, swinging over to the left and then cutting in for turn 14. Pretty cool to watch.
Yeah, and then there's that little bit, Bowden doing it to absolute perfection right there, just letting the car be really free through that section of track and not scrubbing one iota of speed with input into the steering wheel.
Bowden was quicker for the third time in a row that lap. He's closing in, and you see him just pop into the mirror just a bit to remind Andrew that he's there. Maybe try to promote a mistake. That's usually not going to work on a driver like Aquilante. And then the Mustang hikes the front tire, powers out of turn 2. And I think we have a game of corners versus straights happening here between these two cars.
I agree. And just to put a little something in perspective, these guys, they've been racing each other at the front of this category for years. They're arch enemies on the track. But here's the story. For Aquilante, the last 2 years, he's broken while leading. And Bowden has gone on to claim the medal, and I know that just irks Andrew no end. Look at this. It's Pettiford working the inside, Kesman the outside, and Barbieri right there in the mix. There's Pratt Cole. Look at this battle right now. That is for the 7th spot. And yeah, wow, Edgar Lau got through and is just gone on these guys. But look at this scrum.
Barbieri holds the outside of turn 6. That's an impressive move, but now he's going to have that straight line problem. Once again, Kesman is eclipsed right behind him. He's going to come up pretty quick, and they're side by side with Pratt Cole. Barbary goes deep on the brakes inside. Pettiford almost 3 wide. Whoa, tight stuff.
Very tight stuff. And there you can see the handling of Barbary's BMW. You can just straight line to the apex and still get it to rotate and just boogie through that corner. He got through on Pettiford, and he's already 3-4 car lengths up front. So that BMW now starting to come alive. But then this battle is just phenomenal behind him at this stage.
This is great news for Barbary there in that BMW. Broke away at just the right moment. He might stay in front of these cars down the front straightaway. Remember, he qualified 4th. The pace in that E36 is great, but he's just been stuck. His contact in the background, Chris Eaton was involved. Saw another car. Looks like they got into each other in the braking zone of turn 12.
That is such a tricky corner. Right to the wall, these guys. Quite cool on the wall. Phenomenal stuff. There it is, the number 39 of Bill Bott. The Chevy Camaro, he was involved in that. Trying to gather it up again. There it goes.
What you see right now is the race car drivers are locked into the seat in the way that they can't really turn their head, so he can't see if there's traffic coming. He had to be very cautious just to make sure he didn't pull out in front of someone, and when you're sitting facing that direction, you can't turn and look. So he was just being careful, but it looks like he's going to call it into the pit lane, and I know the Miata of Chris Eaton's was involved with that as well. So 2 cars probably hitting the pit lane, unfortunately.
Yeah, when you have a moment like that, you always want to look at the corner workers because they're looking at track, giving you a spot. And if you pull out in front, it's called an unsafe re-entry. And stewards don't take kindly to that kind of a thing because it's a safety issue. And Bill doing a really good job of paying attention there. This is a really good battle that is continuing here. Brian Kleeman and Danny Bender. They've got a fair amount of room back to Ross Murray right now. So these two guys, they can just worry about racing each other, and they're doing just that. And Bowden just continues to fill the mirrors of Aquilante.
Sure does, and this is some of the most intense racing you will ever get in a car as a driver, where you just can't make a mistake. You don't have the opportunity to make a move yet, but you know you're going to get to a chance. You have 13 laps left in the race. You just have to be perfect. And yes, they're not side by side. They're not battling super hard, but that's almost less intense than what's happening right now, where you're just clicking off the best laps you possibly can to keep the window of opportunity as open as possible.
Yeah, within the realm of not torturing your tires, right now you're driving with qualifying intensity, certainly mentally at this stage, aren't you?
Look how quickly Ian Barbary's caught Edgar Loud. Once he got clear of that other battle, he was really able to drive away from it. Mike Pettiford in the background using the straight line speed of that Corvette with no aero on it, but it looks like he might be a bit of the cork in the bottle for the rest of the top 10.
Ian Barbary's lap was just over a second and a half faster than either Murray or Lau right now. And so he is going to be on the prowl immediately. And he has caught Lau. He's got to get that past that like he did. You need to do it in the infield in this car to be able to build a little bit of a gap so you can withstand the grunt of the V8 down the front straight.
Last time he made this work around the outside. Look at the momentum that BMW can carry, and he's going to get the position for turn 6A. Whoa, Lau tries to squeeze him. Chucks it up the inside still, and it's going to be a drag race. Tight stuff. Edgar Lau tucks it behind.
That was actually a really savvy move by Barbary there. When he exited, he just came across and really forced Lau to lift a little bit, which just nulls all that torque advantage of that V8 and allowed him to hang on down that Hellman straight. Now he just flows through this sequence of corners, and that's what he needed to do, get that margin built up so he can still lead down to the one.
That car looks beautifully hooked up, and he left just the car within the inch for Edgar Lau tracking out of turn 6, but Lau got nervous about it, I think, and just kind of checked up like you mentioned. If you can be completely predictable, but just give the guy enough room that he's got to feel a little uncomfortable, you've named it.
Absolutely. Barbary doing that to absolute perfection here. So continue to watch this battle with Kleeman and Bender. Look at Bowden under braking, all up and underneath the wing of Aquilante. And Bender just prowling right now, staying right in the mirrors of that beautiful blue Ford of Kleeman.
One of the best parts about having a pit lane reporter is they can go talk to the drivers isolated from one another and get the real story. And Hayward said that Mark Bowden thinks he can manage the tires better than Andrew Aquilante can, just based on the way those cars drive. So he's playing a patience game right now. I don't know that these guys are. I think they're running as fast as they can and waiting to come together for the battle. Kleeman and Bender, they're just pushing.
They are, and that is for the final podium spot. So pretty crucial for this battle here. And as I said, they've cleared out a little bit, so it's mano a mano for them, and it's certainly mano a mano between the two intense rivals up front here between Aquilante and Bowden. And I think you're right. Bowden is just tracking Aquilante all the time, just flashing in his mirrors, trying to keep him occupied. As you said, Aquilante, tremendous amount of experience in that car. He doesn't rattle very easily, but Bowden just wants to stay close to make sure that Aquilante has to push things a little bit. And while we have just a moment here, as things are opening up just a smidge, we're going to take a moment to let you hear a little bit more about some of the partners that make SCCA Racing possible.
Why race? Because it's in our blood. A love of driving that pushes us as hard on the road as it does on the track. It's why we reinvented the Roadster and put a piece of it into every car we make. It's why we refine, rethink, and refine again. And it's why we'll always engineer to your heart's BPM, not simply an engine's RPM. Why race? Why indeed?
When the finish line calls, we answer. Hit the road with insurance protection from Hagerty. Whether you drive a built racer, sports car, or exotic, and save an average of $264. Get a quote today at Hagerty.com.
Welcome to that magic realm between here and there, a no man's land, and everyone's land, where great expectations grow and rewards are given to the swift, the perceptive, and the daring. Introducing the Mazda CX-30 Turbo with all-wheel drive. More power for your pursuit.
Welcome back to Hagerty Race Day here. The run for the gold in T1, the 33 of Aquilante from pole, continuing to lead, but always, always in his shadow, Bowden.
Bowden is certainly in the hunt. It's that blue and black BMW playing a game of patience, we believe, up here in the booth anyway. Just waiting for the opportunity for Aquilante to start to slip away with those tires.
And right there, you see Kesman going through. Good run here by the number 173, and that's Mark Contensi. And one of the awards that is really a coveted one here is called the Sunoco Hard Charger Award. Most places moved up during the course of the race, courtesy of the official fuel of the SCCA Sunoco. And right now, Contensi, and again, this talks about how intensely close this class is. He might be the leading contender for that route now, up from 14th to 11th. It's only 3 spots, but this class is that furious that he might be the leading contender right now. We won't know until the end of the race when timing and scoring do their final audit, but he's having a fine run right now, knocking on the door of a top 10. Nice livery on that car too.
Does look beautiful. There's a lot of beautiful cars in this class.
Oh,
love seeing it. He's actually driving away from the car just behind Joseph Gaudet, so he's kind of set sight on Hugh Stewart for that top 10. Pair of E46 BMWs, another pair of 6-cylinders.
There you can see Stewart just up the road, so it's certainly not out of reach for Contensi here to be able to crack that top 10. So a little bit of a lock up there, missed the apex. So it tells you just how hard he's pushing.
Maybe a bit of commentator's curse. They acknowledge every once in a while. You start talking about him, and that's when they make a mistake.
Yeah, of course. We jinx him here, but nonetheless, putting in a great drive. Here's this battle now for the final podium spot. Kleeman and Bender looks to be up in the ante. The last lap, he went 2/10 quicker than Kleeman and starting to put the pressure on. And we are just now past halfway. At what point do you think the guys that maybe have been saving tires a little bit are really going to start to come alive?
I think the last 5 laps are going to be the tell. It'll start to get really obvious in those last 5. And the question is, I don't really know which car is heavier in this situation. It looks like Danny Bender's car certainly is a little more flat, so he's running a bit of a stiffer setup anyway. But these cars are probably very similar in most of the specs.
Yep.
And then it just comes down to the driver. And right now, Kleeman has a little bit of straight line advantage that we see in the trap speeds. There's a little, cop guy standing down in turn 1 basically right before they hit the brakes, tells us how fast they're going, and Kleeman is consistently 1 to 2 miles an hour quicker down that straightaway. That could just be down to the aero setup too.
Interesting watching the speeds here, and Bowden went almost 157 miles an hour down that back straight, so certainly floating a lot of speed as you talked about. We go back to this battle, the 144 of Kesman, who had moved up a bit and then has been shuffled back just a little bit. And he and Pettiford have been swapping that 8th spot left and right here. A fun little group, isn't it?
Looks like Hugh Stewart on the back of Mike Pettiford as well. The BMW is going to be pretty good on those brakes. Pettiford not giving it to him, though. Sweeps around the outside, and Stewart thinks better of it as the 42, Paolo Salvatore, has gone around and I think turn 12.
Yeah, it looks like the exit of 12. Take a look at what happened here, Tomo.
Gets it in the mud and goes for a little ride. Pretty simple mistake there to make. As you said, that's a very tricky braking zone. It's on the banking as well, so it's a bit off camber, sets the car into the corner, and easy to overshoot.
And once you get, we've had a lot of rain here the last, certainly all day yesterday pretty much, and that mud that's packed in those tires. You saw him get back on track, and it was just like he was on ice. Ooh, look at this. Barberi really putting on the drive here. That's up and around Ross Murray. That's into the top 5.
He's been reeling Ross Murray into the tune of 1 second to 2 seconds per lap ever since he cleared that battle for about 7th, and that puts him back up into the top 5, as you said. And this car, one of the slower, lower displacement cars, slower down the straights, but he's having that great longevity run that we expected. Maybe he can get back up. It's going to be tough to get back to the 4th spot where he started. They're 20 seconds up the track.
Yeah, it's going to take some work, but hey, stranger things, right? That's why we have the races, and he is putting on an absolutely great drive in that BMW. So Murray now displaced down to 6th, and behind Murray is Edgar Lau in the 7th spot. There he is, and behind them is that great battle for the 8th position. But now clear track, and Barberi, as you pointed out, when you've got a car that isn't as quick and as straight, but is really good in the corners, and you get behind a car that's a little more lumbering. Oh, and look at this. Bender is through on Kleeman into 3rd. And here we go. Starting to get serious. 7 laps to go.
7 laps to go. He pulled it 2 laps earlier than I thought he would, and then I speculated he might anyway. And Bender, now we'll get to see, did he hold back any pace? Is he going to turn the wick up, or did he just get the chance and pounce?
Well, let's take a look at it, and maybe we can read the situation here. Looks like Kleeman maybe just ran a little wide there, Tomo.
Yeah, I don't think he was slowed coming into 4 awkwardly, too. Maybe missed his downshift or something to make that mistake and open the window for Bender. Now Bender's got to focus forward, don't look back. Because if Andrew Aquilante and Mark Bowden start battling, he's not completely out of this.
No, not at all. I mean, right now, he's going to be about 5 seconds adrift of those two up front. And in this, one big mistake that slows both of these guys down, he's right in the mix. There he is.
Now they're starting to wheel it. Both Bowden and now Bender and Kleeman both but getting the wiggle off of turn number 12. The tires starting to scream for some mercy in these big Touring 1 cars. But that was, if you notice, Mark Bowden, as he came into the shot, he was slipping just a little bit from the back tires as well. We thought he might be managing a little more than that.
Yep. Well, we'll have to see. Like you said, maybe he's just said it's go time and starts to push a little bit. We'll have to see. Oh, working traffic. And both of them able to slide through. I think that is on Joe Aquilante in the Chevy Corvette, part of that Aquilante family in the Phoenix Performance Group.
Andrew Aquilante is just so good coming out of turns 1 and 2. Every lap, Bowden is on his back bumper as they turn in for turn 1. And every time they get to about this section of the track, this gap has grown. Yep. And I think that's because of the soft setup on the Mustang. He just gets the power down out of turn 2 so well and pulls out that 5 car width car length lead, buys himself just enough of a gap every lap.
Well, look at this now. That is the number 18 of Edgar Lau battling with Ross Murray. And this is for the 6th spot. Lau is through. Murray not going quietly, though. Keeps his nose up along the outside. And now Edgar Lau slides across and picks up that 6th spot. Immediately now goes into that little bit of protect mode down through 6. The carousel, as we like to call it. And now through 6A and that long, wide run onto the Holman Straight. Just listening in the background again for that the sound of these big V8s. This is such a fun class for a lot of different reasons, and one of them is they're good-looking cars, but they are sweet-sounding machines too.
Very awesome. My favorite sounding in the field might be Mark Bowden or Christina Lamb, who's running in 15th. We were paying attention to that car audibly in qualifying. It's just beautiful, an E46 M3 that just screams.
Yeah, love that sound for sure. Oh, look at this, a little problem for. Oh, it's a lap car. Okay, sorry about that. Thought that was Edgar Lau for a second. Obviously, the graphics on those cars virtually identical. It's going to be interesting to see what Edgar can do. Does he have anything for Barbieri up there? But first, he's got to get around the number 8 of Don Van Norwick. He's running down the order just a little bit right now. Gets through him easily, and Murray, nice job by Van Norwick there. You can see he just waited before he turned in to make sure that Murray was able to get through and not lose much more ground. Just been really impressed. Oh, and look at this, Bowden for the first time showing the nose, and he's close.
It's very close, and we mentioned that Aquilante is really good in Sector 1. This is the closest Bowden has been exiting Sector 1, coming into Sector 2 where they are now through these S's and up onto the banking. Now watch the Mustang get the power down. He's going to pull away just a little bit, but this is the closest for sure that Mark Bowden has been. And guess how many laps there are to go? 5. 5,
yep, you nailed it. It's about that time. Bowden realizes it. He's been able to keep Aquilante right there. That margin's never been more than a second. I'm not sure whether that gentleman was in the grass just to let these guys. I think he was.
He was.
Again, really sportsmanlike driving. A little wiggle by Bowden again.
Yeah, big wiggle from Bowden coming onto the front straight, and this is where he needs to capitalize the best that he can. So he didn't get to save nearly as much as he would have liked, I think, but then the BMW down the last little bit of this straightaway is going to come up nice and close.
Boy, did he get a toe. He just wasn't close enough, as you said, but now he knows if he's a little bit closer. One, he's got straight line speed. 2, he can really pull down there. But right here is what you're talking about for Aquilante.
He's done a much better job, did Bowden, for the last 2 laps now coming out of turn 2. Aquilante has not been able to pull away nearly as much as he had been at the beginning of the race. So Bowden might have been kind of learning a bit from Aquilante. You get to watch the guy in front and figure out what's working for him, where the chinks in your armor are, and then start to fix them.
He's made the adjustment because, once again, he is right there Rotates through that corner. That is 6A. Beautiful drone shot here. Down the Holman Straight, part of Holman Boulevard here. And they're running the oval, as it were. And he's right there again. Didn't get quite close enough to try something. And you're not going to really generally hound Andrew Aquilante into a mistake. So all you can do is just keep enough pressure on him for him to use those tires up. And again, Aquilante comes out of 10, and you can see that little bit. It just jumps out of those corners, doesn't it?
It does, and he's just floating perfectly lap after lap. He's doing the same thing. Bowden's starting to look a little bit more inconsistent, to be honest. As we look back to 5th, this is Ian Barbary. Hayward pointed out the minimum weights of these cars tend to be in the 3,500-pound range. This E46 is only 2,700 pounds. It's a lightweight.
Yeah, so yeah, that's a huge amount. So those tires are going to be in much better shape. But I'm impressed with how Edgar Lau and the group behind him is kind of hanging right in there. Edgar is really putting some laps in. Really stout drive by Edgar. Had a good qualifying run in 6th, faded a little bit, right back into 6th, and very competitive right now. Keep in mind, that guy's a rookie here in the runners, so not too bad.
Not a bad way to start.
One thing, you know, when you got a car that's set up soft, when you go to the throttle, you get a lot of weight transfer onto those rear tires, and I think that is what's really part of what's creating that little bit of a jump that Aquilante gets out of the turns.
Yeah, the key with it is just not to overdrive the entry, get the car set up for that exit, and then you can map the throttle. And even if it slips just a little bit, that softness pushes the tire into the ground that little bit more, lets you jump off the corner. Just watch that happen. Boom, 1 car length every time they exit a tighter corner.
And that 1 car length can be the difference in where you are coming down into a braking zone at the end of a straight. And right there, you saw that play out to perfection, because by the time they got there, Bowden was there, but he wasn't close enough to actually come by. And you can believe that both of them are making note of that every time. And Bowden's trying to figure out, what kind of solution do I have to that?
Bowden a much better sector 2 that time through as they crossed into sector 3 just now. He's a couple of car lengths closer, but the key is getting through turn 14. We saw him have a little bit of a slide in turn 12 as he overshoots 12 just a bit that lap, but he had the slide in 14 that kind of prevented him from drafting up behind Aquilante. Can he get it clean this lap? There's a little bit of a wiggle. He's got to keep it nice and clean.
Yeah.
It just loses that little bit of car length every time.
There's the number 8 again, Van Norwick up front, and you can see Aquilante just gets that jump off the corner. Now Aquilante, I thought he might grab a little bit of a toe, but he had such a head of steam built up anyway. He just pulled out, went straight by. And Bowden not able to get down underneath him again, and here we go. There it is. 1 length, 2 length. Yep.
You know, as a driver, if you give me the choice between the advantage in the first 100 yards or the last 100 yards of the straightaway, I'll take the first 100 yards every time, and that's what we're watching right now. Aquilante has the first 100 yards covered, and Bowden's good in the last 100 before they hit the brakes. That gives Aquilante the advantage and the buffer every lap.
Well, and where's the yard of bricks in the finish line in that equation? First 100 yards.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's your setup right there. And Bender, he's done a great job. He's running laps a little bit quicker than these guys at the front, but not enough. He hasn't closed it up enough with 2 laps to go here to be able to really get into the equation. But now we're going to find out, does Bowden have anything left? Has he been saving something, not showing everything to Aquilante? And the same for Aquilante. Is there a little bit left in that quiver? Up through, get on the banking, and then you turn down off it. Again, falls away. Here it's just crucial for Bowden to not light the rears up. That time, did a pretty good job of that. But it's 2-3 lengths. And look how close these guys come up. Oh, he hits it! Bowden into the wall, and that is it. Game over. He was trying to float every ounce of speed that he could, and he gets into the wall, and I'm not sure this car is going to last 2 more laps.
Yeah, the problem he's going to have is that rear tire, which looks like it took some wheel damage and his body rubbing as well. He's going to cut that tire really, really quick. Right now, it's okay, but he was committed, so committed this lap, and just pancakes it. Boom, right there.
Yeah. And you would have thought at first the way he hit it that it would have been the front tire, but right at that last moment, it was the back that smacked it firmly. And he's got that 6 seconds he had in hand over Bender. I don't know that is going to last here. It looks like it's more body down on that tire. I don't know how much damage there is to the back, to the tire itself, or the wheel, you know, in terms of suspension. But Bender now is seeing that car smoking every turn. And you know Danny is going, come on, let's get up to him. And he's coming.
He is coming quick, really.
Yeah.
I think Bowden's unfortunately not going to stay on the podium if he can't continue to have some pace. And you saw him sacrifice turn 13 a lot more than he had. He was going to set up wide for 14 if it worked or not, and it unfortunately didn't quite work for him. But he knew that was his weak spot. He tried to fix it, it just didn't pay off.
Yeah, he was trying to float every ounce of speed. And here we go. Bender is going to come through, and Danny Bender moves up into silver medal contention here. And pretty solidly as well. And, you know, we were talking about Bender and, you know, his experience. I mean, he does have a gold at the runoff, so let's, you know, make sure that we point that out. But it was back in 2014 at Laguna in T4. Again, one of the smaller horsemen. Bowden says, I'm done. I'm done. I've got to go in. So here we go. It is Bowden into the pits. Aquilante comes through. Now all by himself. Danny Bender in the second spot. And we should see Brian Kleeman, I think, now be up now into that final podium spot once he flashes through as well. And he does. Aquilante, 1 lap to go. And if he hangs on, it will be his 6th gold in the T1 category. His 11th gold overall. There is Bowden in the fall line crew. Going to jump on that car, but it is done. And for Aquilante, this was a difficult race for him. Even though he led it all the way, he had to be inch perfect on this one.
Yeah, we talked about how intense this kind of race is for the driver inside the car, and he's not going to be a spring chicken when he finishes this race. He's going to be tired in that big Mustang. But Bowden, you got to give him a tip of the hat. He acknowledged what he needed to change, and making a change in a race when you're in the rhythm is very hard to do the change correctly the first time, and he tried it, and it just didn't execute the way he needed it to. Then acknowledged Danny Bender, Kleeman getting up into the podium contention spots, but we weren't sure if Ian Barbary would get back to where he started in 4th. You said stranger things have happened. Well, he's back to 4th.
There you go. Exactly. So here we are, the 33 of Andrew Aquilante, one of the guys who sits high up in the record books in SCCA Runoffs competition, and he's going to add to those tallies right now. Heading to the line, looking for a 6th gold in Touring 1, and he gets it. Aquilante in that iconic 33 black and yellow Mustang coming through. Behind him, second car, it is Bender in that black Camaro with the red striping, and look at that, Brian Kleeman delighted, lights flashing, bringing it home on the podium with a 3rd place finish. And we still have some really good racing going on. That is Kesman and Stewart. And Stewart has not given up. This is the battle for the 7th spot. Oh, Stewart overrunning things just a little bit. The 2 BMWs. It's not done just yet. Boy, look at Stewart roll speed here, but lights up those rears as he comes out, and that might just be enough to allow Kesman to hang on to that position in 7th. Stewart giving it everything he can, but it will be Kesman bringing it home in 7th. Outside of the top 3, it's Barbary in the 4th spot, Lau in the 5th spot, then Murray, then Kesman, Stewart, then Pettiford and Cole. These should be the guys that come through and hang on to it here. Nice run there by the number 23 of Hugh Stewart. And look at that, Bender comes up alongside, and 1 gives Andrew Aquilante, I'm sure, a thumbs up, but 2, I'm sure Bender is going unbelievable. I'm getting a silver medal here at the runoffs, and he did a really good job. You know, drove a great race.
Really did, and we should point out again, he was the fastest car on the track for a number of those last laps. So he did a great job managing the Camaro, maybe let the leaders get away a little bit too much, took a little too long to get by Brian Kleeman, but had a lot of pace at the end of the race. He can kind of file that away in the old noggin, and if he tries it again next year in T1, maybe he'll deliver even more.
Wouldn't be surprised. He is a talent. That's
Look at Aquilante drifting there in turn 12 to celebrate the last bit of the Hoosier tire. Comes off the car
exactly.
as he pulls it in.
Why not? He's done. He's a champion once again. Let's have a little bit of fun out there and doing exactly that. As he makes his way around, comes into the victory circle staging area. And once he gets that helmet off, the gold medal will go around his neck. And then we will hear from him with Hayward Wagner. And then Bender and Kleeman will be hearing from them as well. Yeah, once Aquilante's done with the interview, he gets to go out and take that very special victory lap of honor here. And he'll be looking forward to that one as he brings this beautiful machine. It's brought him a lot of success. And very similar cars they ran in the GTS in World Challenge competition, and he was an absolute factor there. He and Kurt Resitano for a couple seasons. And in he comes. The window net will come down. Our multitasking Hayward Wagner down there. And looking for CC to hand him that gold medal. CC there in that pink shirt. Speaking of multitasking, doing a lot here this weekend as well. And Andrew Aquilante, again, the remarkable 6 gold in his class, 11th gold, coming on the heels of an 18th pole. Those are pretty staggering numbers here in runoffs competition. And we're getting ready to send it down to Hayward. A lot for Andrew to be disconnecting there. And there goes the gold medal around his neck. And Hayward, can't wait to hear this one. What a race. Watch for that. There's the Hoosier. Hoosier does it right. They build a great tire, and they understand how to market it. All right, now let's get down to Hayward.
Andrew, get in the water. How sweet is this one?
Redemption for his car let me down the past few years. Indy's such a cool place. Sports cars, Indy cars, obviously, or Indy cars, but still, to walk out on a podium, is just a surreal feeling, and I'm glad we get to do it. And oh man,
Turn 1, lap 1. That looked to me to be one of the boldest turn 1. I am not going to give up this lead moves I've seen in any form of racing. What did it feel like inside the car?
Actually, it felt quite controlled. He didn't go as deep as I thought he was going to go. I was prepared to go deeper, to be honest with you. But we knew that he was going to come down the inside because he's got a lot of power on us. So that was no surprise. And then it was just managing the tires, clicking off the laps, and waiting for him to make a mistake.
It looked like you were getting off of 2 particularly well midway through the race. That started to close up a little bit. Were you losing tire? Was he figuring something out? Was it strategy?
I think I taught him a few things because his line changed dramatically in my mirror, and he started following me and kind of caught on to what I was doing. So, but like I said, all I had to do was force him to make a mistake coming up the banking because looked like he was struggling there. And sure enough, looked back, tire smoke, and that's it. So this is pretty awesome. I got to thank Phoenix Performance, all the guys, obviously mom and dad. Let's see here, Kurt, Marshall, Matt, Travis, who came out earlier in the week to help us out. Then Rob, Ken. Ken was my crewman for the weekend, a little busy with 2 cars. Bob, Lars, Mel, Ray, keeping us fed and driving the trucks. Oh, Marshall drove one of the trucks. Who am I forgetting? Crap. Yeah, this is pretty cool. The Hoosier tires, we were flat out up the banking the entire race, so there was no concern there. Hawk brakes, I was just kind of managing in there. He closed in, but he's got a lighter car and bigger brakes than I do, so. And Penske shocks makes this thing handle. Ron Davis radiators keeps everything cool. Mobil 1 keeps everything lubricated. I'm forgetting somebody probably.
All right, we'll let you catch him on the next one. Congratulations on another championship, Andrew.
Thank you.
Guys, you talked a lot this weekend about the processing that a driver has to do. That interview shows you a lot about what's going on inside that helmet.
Yeah, really good point, and a lot of management looking, and you're watching. If you're in the lead, you're watching your mirrors. What's the guy doing right behind me? But you can't. While you're doing that, and this is the thing, you can't make a mistake while you're juggling all of that. That's what sets these guys apart with these amazing runs here at the runoffs. And speaking of an amazing run, how about Danny Bender and Brian Kleeman? Hayward?
Danny, a silver for you here at the runoff. How does that feel?
It feels great, especially, going a whole year. And, it's tough. T1's a tough class, and Andrew's really a master of his class, and that car's so good. So to bringing home second place really feels good. You know, we put a lot of work into this year. You know, the goal was, you know, obviously to win, but I'll take second place all day.
Well, a great drive for you, keeping it clean, getting onto the podium. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. And I just want to throw out to Bravo Trailers, Black Dot Racing, Matt Carson and the guys did an amazing job this year. And everybody that helps us get here every year, it's all about them. So thank you.
Congratulations. And we got Brian right over here. Brian, second on the grid, third on the podium. How does it feel to be a bronze medalist here at the Runoffs?
I mean, I was hoping we could do better, but you know, it's pretty good. Third place at the Runoffs is never something to complain about. We just sort of missed on our race setup. We still lost the rear end. We just burned the tires up, and the car started getting real loose, and it was just tough to hang on to. But we just, you know, made the most of it and hung in there.
Well, congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, great qualifying run, and as Hayward said, still got it back up onto the podium. And there is Andrew Aquilante on the lap of honor. And you heard him, you know, throwing out all those names and the like. And yeah, he's got 2 cars here, but the number of people that Phoenix Performance is running here at the Runoffs, that's why it sounds like that's a full-on professional operation. And in essence, it is, but it's just because they're fielding, upwards of 7-8 cars here. So it's a huge crew. As we take a look at our provisional results, Aquilante, Bender, and Kleeman. In the medals, Barberi, I think it was a great drive by Barberi considering how far he dropped before that car started to come in. And then Edgar Lau, really solid drive by Edgar. Ross Murray, Kesman, Stewart, Pettiford, and Pratt Cole rounding out your top 10. But again, the crews, Tomo, it really is, you know, you heard a Bender say it's all about them, and it really is.
It really is. And what stood out to me also in Andrew's interview is we were speculating in the booth that it was Bowden waiting for Andrew to make a mistake. It was really the other way around. Sounds like Andrew was in pretty good control of that race, just waiting for kind of trying to manipulate Bowden into the mistake, and it worked.
Yeah, it did. Both those guys, you know, thinking about trying to get the other one into a mistake, and it was Bowden that cracked first, and that's part of the game sometimes. Let's take a look at some of the highlights, and in particular, this move around the outside, because you can see he came across and that had Kleeman sort of nullified, but here comes Bowden down the inside, and that move around the outside was stout.
It was amazing, and Kesman coming up through the field for that first charge before dropping back through. There's Bowden just hunting, but maybe being towed into that mistake that he would ultimately make. Then Bender took a while to get through, but he finally gets through on Kleeman, and that's what solidified that second place in the end.
In the end, absolutely. That was for third at the time, and then here's Bowden just floating it, running a little wide, and clanking the barrier there, that wall, and the damage was done. He tried to hang in there. This is when Bender was able to slide through, but eventually Bowden had to pit, and Aquilante at that point uncontested to a 6th gold in T1 and 11th gold overall. Bender for second, and Brian Kleeman coming through to complete the podium. And there was the gold medal going around the neck of Andrew Aquilante. And that, folks, is going to wrap up our coverage here, once again, presented by Mazda, of the run for the gold in T1, Touring 1 here in the 58th running of the SCCA National Championship Runoffs. For Tom O'Gorman and Hayward Wagner alongside, big thank you to them. And I'm Greg Creamer. It's been a pleasure having you with us, folks. We're wrapping up our coverage. Take care, everybody.
Welcome to that magic realm. Between here and there, a no man's land, and everyone's land, where great expectations grow and rewards are given to the swift, the perceptive, and the daring. Introducing the Mazda CX-30 Turbo with all-wheel drive, more power for your pursuit.